your favorite kind of food you like cooking?
That's a good question. I get that question a lot about what's my favorite dish or what types of food do I like to cook most. My question, my answer is actually kind of an interesting one. I don't know if it necessarily answers the question, but I find the most joy when I'm in my kitchen cooking a dish that I've never cooked before. And I think it's because I'm always hungry to learn about cooking and about food, and so I really get inspiration from my travels and trying new restaurants and going to other countries and even other regional parts of the U.S. and eating the foods that are indigenous to that region, and coming home, getting inspired by what I've eaten, and then learning how to reproduce it in my own kitchen, and then how to also try to make it better, in my opinion. So for me, I have the most fun and the most pleasure when I'm cooking something completely new in the kitchen.
Oh, that's a learning experience in itself. Also, what as you know, with uh, with with Ebola, with these diseases now, what can and also like these fast food restaurants, what can people do to prevent themselves for not becoming sick, and also and in the food industry, what can we do to make sure that our the food quality, if we're getting, is 100% natural, or not processed either? Do we need to get away from that? If so, what are some of the things that we need to do? And can you give us some tips on that? Because here you are, a gourmet chef. That's a good question.
Yeah, I think it's important to know where your food comes from. I think that's probably the most important thing. It's growing your own food, especially if you can do that. It's not hard to do an urban garden. I live in an urban area in Houston, and so it's kind of in the inner city, but I have a small yard, and we're able to grow some fruits and vegetables. And then if you're controlling the own growth of your food that you're putting in your own body, you can control the soil, what you're putting onto the plants, natural pesticides, if any at all. So you're kind of nurturing your food from the ground up, literally. And so you know exactly where your food's coming from. So that's probably the most important thing, is to try to grow your own food. But of course, not everyone has the luxury of that, or has the green thumb, or has land to grow cattle or pigs or whatnot. So I think it's also important to know where your food comes from, whether it's buying from local farmers and knowing, visiting that farm and knowing what they feed their livestock, or how they raise them, or how those sorts of environments that the animals are living in. And that's also not a luxury that a lot of people have either. But I think it's best to do the research as well as you can. Ask around, talk to other chefs, talk to people who have done the research already for themselves, or whatever it is, and then just knowing where your food comes from. I think that's important.
Great tips. Excellent tips.